In recent times, I have been very vocal that I don't really like reading the comments anymore. Because they're just sort of unfunny, and there's some guy who installed the game last week and thinks he knows everything about the meta coming into my comments, being like, oh, SUPAH, why are you using Hoshiguma like a DPS? She's a defender, don't you know? So I thought, what better way than to monetize the comments? I asked, who do you think is the best designed operator in the original Arknights? I'm not talking about power level, per se, just who do you think has the best kit? My answer is Tragodia. The main reason I believe Tragodia is really good is because he has really simple and intuitive, easy to pick up effects, but at the same time, they have a wealth of depth you can get into. There is so much you can do with the cat, with the cages of chaos. You can get really creative. Not just that, it's also really good. And I like winning. I genuinely like playing the meta. Like, I genuinely don't get bored playing the meta. So he's great for me. Let's see what you people had to say. And immediately the first comment makes me regret ever asking this. This is probably an odd choice, but I'm gonna go with Blemishine. I like how she's a healing defender because she was trying to follow in her sister's footsteps, but then she's also designed to be an offensive take on the archetype that distinguishes her from everyone else in the class. Also, I think she might be one of the M9 worthiest operators in the game, not because she has 3 skills that are all meta, but because each of her skills fills an actual niche while also having some sort of downside compared to her other skills, meaning there is an actual trade-off in choosing which one to use. Everything about her design just feels coherent and purposeful even if she's not really the strongest. This is what I meant when I said that it's a good design when the operator kit translates the operator's story and personality into gameplay. We have a plus-minus saying Ebenholz. First of all, I wanna congratulate plus-minus. I am very glad that he didn't say something like, oh, SUPAH, it's Eunectis because I want to lick her feet and suck her toes. I know that must have taken a lot of restraint from plus-minus. Ebenholz is a very strange choice because, let me pull up Arknights. Ebenholz has a lot of moving parts. He has a very intricate kit. However, unlike operators like Wishadel, where every part of the kit works together to make her the powerhouse that she is, for Ebenholz, it's like every part of his kit works together to make him damn near unusable. Ebenholz wants to one-shot. That's his gimmick. If Ebenholz can't one-shot, then his entire kit falls apart. Yet, what do we have? Very meager attack boost, 65%. I get it's because Mystic Caster build up stacks, but still, very meager attack boost. After the first shot, which will not one-shot, he's just gonna pepper the enemy with little attacks that don't do anything. I don't know why Hypergriff is scared to make a Mystic Caster that just only attacks when they are at full stacks. Then we have Skill 2. Skill 2 is such a unique example of a skill that does everything to go against itself. It's just... Ebenholz is a masterclass in the most anti-synergistic kit I've ever seen, perhaps, in the game. Like, the only competition he has is Eunectis. The other reply that I wanted to take a look at from the Twitter post... Not Myrtle, not Laios, no, definitely not fucking Laios. Mantra is a really good pick when it comes to a well-designed operator. Why? Because Mantra fixes the main issue with primal casters while still being a good unit, but also maintaining the load-bearing weakness of primal casters. Now, what is the load-bearing weakness of primal casters? It's the fact that they are reliant on other units. Now, Mantra is also very much reliant on others with skill 3. As you will see, Mantra skill 3 needs people to activate skills in her range. If this doesn't happen, if Mantra is just left on her own, her damage drops off a cliff. What did Mantra figure out that Blaze Alter could not? Whereas Blaze Alter was a very transparent attempt to introduce some sort of Hoyo-like monetization with premium supports for the premium DPSs, Mantra works with damn near half the fucking game. Let's say like Mei skill 1, Gummy skill 1, Chongye skill 3, Saga skill 2 if you wanted to, Gavial skill 1, fucking Saria skill 2. She works with so many different skills, so basically any skill that has a short SP cost. Not only is it very easy to pair Mantra with someone else, but you can get very creative with it. It's very versatile what you can do with it. It's not a synergy that locks you into just one strategy, like Blaze Alter, which can only DPS and she's not even the best at it. True, actually, Nick from chat, just keep swapping Mountain's state, true. Fucking Mountain swap stance meta, true. For me, it's gotta be Jessica the Liberated. Firstly, her skills, so they don't feel like copies of each other and they all have unique applications. Skill 1 for set and forget lane holding, Skill 2 for anti-air, chaff clear, and shenanigans with the dodge relics in IS, and Skill 3 for bursts of damage, a solid stun, and just being a wall of stats that elites and bosses can't get past easily. Secondly, the way she is designed feels unique. They could have made her a sniper caster guard that does a billion damage so that YouTubers could make a video of her two-shotting Patriot, but instead they made her an extremely versatile defender that can fill roles in both casual and high-level play and slots perfectly in almost any team comp. Thirdly, Jessica is everything that an Alter operator should be. She isn't the same class as the old Jessica, so it doesn't feel redundant, but her design and kit take inspiration from the original, so she doesn't feel like a completely different character. Also, they did a great job with her lore and personality. They could have easily turned Jessica into a stoic, unfeeling badass that doesn't look at explosions, but they didn't. It's nice to see that after all these years, Jessica is still an emotionally vulnerable soul who sometimes needs to sit down and have a good cry after a tough battle. She really is the gold standard for good operator and alter design. Every time an alter gets released, I can't help but compare them to Jessica. This is pure facts. This man is fluent in truth. Out of every language in the world, they chose to speak straight heat. Jessica kind of encompasses everything that good design for an operator should be. All three of her skills are unique and have different niches which are viable and useful. She has a unique mechanic with the shield which both changes her direction and functions as an aggro tank that gives her SP, so there's some layers of strategy there. She's also a very good example of translating a character into gameplay. Lemuen is very well designed IMO. All three skills have legitimate uses, both talents are essential parts of her kit, she has a useful and fun synergy with the other Laterano operators, and she has multiple methods of dealing with the downsides of the Deadeye trait that require legitimate skill to utilize while not completely eliminating any possible drawback like so many 6 stars tend to. I really like her range extension synergy that she has with the Laterano operators, because it's so versatile and it's so useful. That range extension can change a strategy completely. As I said, very versatile. Did you know Archetto counts? Did you know Arturia counts? Did you know the original Exia counts? Plume counts. Yes, Plume counts as well. I don't know who the fuck is using Plume to synergize with Lemuen, but yes, Plume counts. Weedy, her job is to push things and be the undisputed queen of Shift Jang. Each skill has a use case, and her water cannon is one of the most flexible pseudo-summons because of her SP passive. Skill 1 has extra utility as a consistent multi-target stun, which only got directly power-capped by Hodler. Skill 2 is lane holding, but is limited by enemy weight, instead of any other stat like every other lane holder. And Skill 3 has true damage, distance scaling damage, the largest shift force in the game, shift compounding with a double shot with her cannon, and can just be a generic burst damage with clear if nothing else is needed. I feel like the best way you can prove that Weedy is a very well designed operator is that she keeps showing up in a CC. This is gonna be like some really old head stuff, but Weedy skill 1 was used in CC4, the original CC4, not CCB4, to perma-stun the golems. Yeah, the Unks remember that we had to use Weedy skill 1 in CC4 to perma-stall the golems. Yeah, elite ball knowledge. Sakiko Probable has the best collab operator design, pretty good on their own while also having fun synergies with our band of misfits. Here's my hot take. Sakiko is a genuinely good example of synergy in Arknights. None of you expected me to say that. The synergy, when it comes to Sakiko, it adds on top of a complete kit and allows new avenues for strategy. However, the other Ave Mujica units are very, very bad examples of synergy in Arknights, despite the fact that they are in the same faction and part of the same synergy. Because while Sakiko adds on top of a complete kit, the 5 stars work through this Exodia-esque synergy. You know, I had so many fucking people in the comments being like, oh, well, everything revolves around Sakiko and the others can't do anything without Sakiko. That's just lore accurate. I don't even know if it is. I didn't even watch the anime. I'm not watching your 6.5 out of 10 slice of life anime. It's not lore accurate. It's not even lore accurate. I had like half of the fucking comment section make that joke. And you're telling me it's not even fucking lore accurate? Gladiia is a really well thought out operator and probably the best way to design a Hookmaster. Gladiia's talent gives her survivability with continuous HP regen, which allows her to survive enemies' damage more easily. Her module gives her another layer of survivability. Okay, wait. Is this just describing what Gladiia does? She's designed to be more suited than the other Hookmasters to go on melee tiles and take damage from enemies. It was one of the many flaws with the archetype. Pulling enemies towards make them really vulnerable, especially due— Okay, I see where you're going. Fair then. We can say that Gladiia has survivability, which is a direct way to address the weakness of Hookmasters. That being, they pull the enemy to themselves and then they just die. I see what he's cooking, but you're not meant to use Hookmasters as guards. That's the thing. This is less fixing Hookmasters and more so making a Hookmaster that's a guard. I've been a Meyer fan since day one. Her Meeboos can either provide massive stackable burst damage plus long stuns— Okay, massive is a bit of a a word choice here. Or immense tankiness to keep lanes busy. Again, immense is kind of a big word here. I feel like we're gassing up Meyer a little too much. Podenco is so good she made 2 entire archetypes. That's kind of funny that Podenco on skill 1 is an abjurer, and Podenco on skill 2 is an alchemist. For all she's memed on, I think Viviana is really nicely designed. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not even gonna read the rest of it. Viviana? Well designed? Okay, so the main issue with Viviana is that her kit is completely detached from her character. Viviana had an established kit, she had an established lore, and then her kit is just something else entirely. It's just a shitty arts guard that can't even kill Jesselton without the burn module. Monstre, kill that guy. I do agree that Monstre is one of the best designed operators as well. I think Monstre, like Mantra, addresses the main weakness of her archetype in a way that is very cool and makes you engage with the game. So, her pylon, her crystal, it constantly loses HP, it can only be healed by her, it helps with the bounces, it charges her skills. There is a lot going on in just that little summon. It fixes her archetype completely, it allows her to use the advantages of the archetype reliably, it gives layers to the fact that she's an offensive recovery unit. I gotta go for Eblana. She's both fun to play and balanced, both has strong sides and weak sides. I don't have much to write here, I just like summoners and Eblana is my favorite among them. Eblana is well designed in the way that you have to really engage with her mechanics to make her work. You have to plan out where the enemy dies so that the big summon can spawn. You have to plan out when to activate her skill 3 to kill enemies and suck the smaller summons into the big summon. There's a lot going on. It's not just Unga Boonga put down the big summon and win the stage. There is a fair amount of things going on with very clear weaknesses. Lack of control over the spawn location is poor quality of life. I don't know about that. I feel like the lack of control is an essential part of her design. Because if you could just designate a tile for the thing to spawn, that removes a whole step of her gameplay. A whole step of her gameplay is making sure that the first enemy dies in the appropriate position. If you could just designate the tile, you would lose part of her gameplay. Maybe it's on the biased side, but I said Mountain has a very good kit on him. Is that so, YouTube user with a mountain profile picture? He makes the brawler archetype shine and fixes the problem by being very simple yet very effective with cheap DP cost, very good lane holding, heal, block, AoE attack boost, and very newbie friendly. Deploy with 5 seconds and finished, very unbelievably easy to use. You have him most of the time, you're gonna try to have more DPS oriented operator because he solved the lane holding problem. I can see what they mean. I don't think Mountain is a well-designed operator in general. I think Mountain is well-designed for the spot he occupies in the ecosystem of the game. What I mean is that he's very clearly meant as a new player unit. 100% Mountain is made for new players, and at that, if we look at him through that perspective, then yeah, he's very well designed. He achieves the purpose of being a new player unit extremely well. Yeah, I'm wondering, does anyone mention Exusiai Alter? Am I gonna have to mention Exusiai Alter myself? Exusiai Alter just because of skill tree, like that carries her entire kit. Skill tree is so insanely well designed. It's such a simple effect, just a revive, but it has so many creative applications, and it will keep getting more as new ground operators release. Skill 2 is also pretty good. I like the attack speed steal on skill 2. I like the barrier and the attack speed steal. The attack speed steal means that you can't just place her anywhere and just fire off the skill like it's nothing. You have to think about who's getting their attack speed stolen. Is Logos allowed? Yeah, Logos is pretty well designed. Logos does every caster niche at the same time, and he is the best at it. The only thing he doesn't do is global damage, and that's why Lapland is meta, just because Lapland covers the one niche that Logos doesn't. Okay, this is another example of what I just described. SUPAH, here's a well-designed operator, and here's what she does. You know, I think Hoshiguma Alter is very well designed. She deals arts damage while her skill is activated. Like, is that the bar for good design? That an arts defender deals arts damage on skill? Is that the bar we're setting? This is an interesting topic. I'll just say what I think, since that seems to be what you're looking for anyway. Yeah, that's the purpose of a question. I really like Lin in terms of kit design. Her talents and skills all work together cohesively, and it's a character that gets your gears turning without being overly complex or overloaded. She performs extremely well in the right situations. Enemies that can break a barrier, situations where there are lots of little enemies to maximize skill tree explosions, multi-hit enemies that charge skill faster, and does mid/okay in environments that aren't well suited for her. To me, that's what Arknights is about at its core, figuring out which of your units performs the best against enemies and the stage as presented to you, which is something that I think is more and more lost in favor of characters that are good everywhere, but I digress. Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like it's a 50-50 split, because on one hand, we have Wang, on the other hand, we have Ch'en3, we have the Ch'en Alter, which very much is only good in very specific circumstances and just kind of mid otherwise. Like what he's describing here is Ch'en Alter, is nasty, for example. There is example, even in modern years, in modern operators, of this happening, specialized operators that excel in specific situations. Flint. Okay, we have a guy championing for Flint. Her design is pretty simple. You deploy her at the start of the map for little DPS so she can fight dogs and other charge mobs, and then later in the map, when the hard-hitting elites show up, you use her for skill 2 in tandem with a DPS to take them out within 1 or 2 tiles. This does require prior map knowledge, and you're probably better off just using Ethan or even Stylish, so most casual players will realistically never find a use for her. But she's a new take on fighter guards, and her kit does work. That's good game design. Using the fact that brawlers attack very fast to give Flint a crowd control niche, that's kinda clever. That's kinda clever. That you're like, oh, if we attach a status effect to the fast brawler attacks, that should be a good way to apply that status effect. Even if in the meta it didn't really pan out, it's a pretty good game design on paper, yeah. Either Fiammetta, she has an obvious weakness you have to play around, she isn't strong in every situation, but in the right situation she does her job perfectly, also Burb. Or Irene, her new cast 3 isn't just deployed with and profit due to it being offensive recovery, it had to be properly set up instead of just getting it for free. I don't know, this is kind of a misconception, right? Having a weakness to play around doesn't inherently make you good design. Like, look at Irene. I don't think Irene is very well designed. I think her skill tree is kind of a mess. thing with Irene skill 3 is that, first of all, she hits random enemies, so that's one. Second of, she levitates for 4 seconds, and she deals good damage to the levitated enemy. However, the skill lasts longer than the levitate. There's gonna be like a full 2 seconds where the enemies aren't levitated, but she's still hitting. And then there's the fact that due to the random targeting, it could happen that she just doesn't hit the guy you want her to hit. Would Irene be fixed with a module increasing levitate duration like the downstairs with the stun? No, actually, no, because read her skill. It specifies 4 seconds, which means a module would not help because the skill specifies that it lasts 4 seconds. Amiya medic, hear me out, okay. Her numbers are weird in places, but she's a free 5-star. Access to true damage on skill 2 means she can help accounts with tough opponents while not making good DPS 6 stars irrelevant. She's a help for newish players, and still surprising amount of play if you want to. Okay, Corul Sig. Here's the problem with your argument. To unlock Amiya medic, you need to clear Chapter 14. You're not a new player if you beat Chapter 14. My guy said, hear me out, and then said this Chapter 14 operator helps out new players. Yeah, just bring Wishada support. That's true. Just use the fucking E2 ticket over here and bring a Wishada support. That's true. That's true. Silly me for not seeing that. Silly me. I was waiting for someone to mention Archetto. I was waiting on Archetto. Archetto's IS module is sincerely one of the best designed things in the game. Not just the best designed operator, not just the best designed module, best designed thing in the game. Why? It introduces an entirely new meta with entirely new operators. It changes completely how you think about a lot of the roster. It changes how you think about your team composition, and it encourages you to play in a way which is fun. That's the most important thing to me when it comes to Archetto's IS module. It actively encourages you to explore your options in a unique way that you wouldn't do otherwise, and it's very fun to do so, and it's very strong on top of it. I'd personally say Zwole. It's honestly impressive how cohesive he is as an operator. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say that he essentially fixed the nigh all flaws of the Musha archetype. While his skill 2 and skill 3 are most definitely more useful than his skill 1, it's true that his skill 1 is his only FK options, giving doctors an alternative option for Zwole. Skill 2 and skill 3 perform very different things, however perfectly plays into his low HP playstyles by using the Barrier. Barrier allows Musha to stay at low HP threshold, but technically still have HP to tank hits. I also appreciate they addressed the fact that Mushas are much more vulnerable, weak, and ineffective in their skill downtime in Zwole's kit. They introduce a trade-off to decrease skill downtime, the trade-off being based off of what Mushas were originally designed around, tenacity. There's more I can discuss about, but I think I'll make my explanation a bit too long. Ultimately, I believe an operator is well designed when there is clear cohesion, direction, and purpose in their kits without disparaging their archetypes and its advantages/restrictions. I do like how Zwole uses Barrier. For example, let's look at Zwole versus Penance, for example, right? Penance uses it just to beef herself up. It doesn't really do much outside of that, it's just there to tank. Zwole's Barrier has a much more intricate purpose. It serves to enable and make viable the low HP playstyles that Elagur, Utage, and Akafuyu were trying to achieve and failed miserably. The issue is you had to find the middle ground between yes, getting their ass kicked, but also not straight up dying, which was a very difficult middle ground to find. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the same here. Oh, Gravel! Someone was talking about Gravel in chat just a moment ago. Someone was talking about Gravel. Concept-wise, she is both in story and in gameplay the bodyguard that appears out of nowhere to block a knife. Gameplay-wise, she's the earliest on-demand split-second tool the player has access to, and has usage even in endgame. Story-wise, while she flirts, like a generic mature waifu, she explicitly still doesn't fully trust Rosalind enough to give her a real name. While, like, half of this is unrelated, I do think Gravel is a well-designed operator. She was the first spin on a fast redeploy that we haven't really seen since. Gravel is still the only tank fast redeploy. That's still a niche that only her fulfills. It also fits with her story, because she's a bodyguard, and so in gameplay you put her down to be a bodyguard for the other operators. Ifrit, for sure, her kit is pretty one-note, but it makes sense. Okay, you know someone really understood the prompt when I asked who is the most well-designed operator, and he comes at me with her kit is pretty one-note. She's just really cracked. She just has cracked as fuck numbers. A lot of res-ignore, she has even more res-ignore, she has a really short cooldown with a really big attack buff and defense shred, which it's there, I guess. It doesn't really do anything, but yeah, Ifrit is another nasty upscale. Nasty is an Ifrit upscale. I guess they upscale each other. You know what? With Ifrit in particular, I guess they upscale each other. You know what's an operator that absolutely did not get saved by Nasty? I saw some people be like, oh, Nasty, you can make custom high ground tiles, that's great for Fartooth. Of course, of all the operators to use with Nasty, we're gonna use Fartooth. I mean, yeah, technically, Nasty is Fartooth support. I'm just saying, out of every operator you could use with Nasty, Fartooth is the worst one. Like, this is what Fartooth wishes she could be. Wow, once again I am recording the outro late at night. Thank you to all the members, in particular Bar2D2X, Noel Lunes, Davonte Gaspard, Lizard King, Rendet Asan, Notic, Camilo Buciader, Lumines Passmont, Zora Marslink, Ramon Chef, Gigi Ventuna, Vinco Cheng, Ilio, Levinciate, Rayon Box, Efram, Daruto Ball Magic, Yuara Killer, Daius, Kino, Bom Ninja, Apollo Tiki, Wakiwanotu, Mistallero, Darliano Raptor, One Kain, Rifarov, Spherenix, Lupo, Boru Barfa, Kevin McGuire, Antonio Trace, Bistum, San Kenshi, Chromada-chan, 5 QTTK, Shinsuke Shipper, Silver 7, Maisel Says, Come On Here, Narmendra, Prancing Peppers, Yu Vune, King of Arms, and that guy with 2 names. That's all. See you next time on Slop Live. Stop.